The dog I was walking suddenly stopped dead in its tracks and began growling at something in the darkness ahead of us, its hackles raised and its entire body trembling with a fear that I had never seen in the normally friendly golden retriever during the 6 months I had been providing professional dog walking services for busy pet owners in my suburban neighborhood. It was 9:30 on a Tuesday evening, and I was completing my final walk of the day along the familiar tree-lined streets where I had walked dozens of dogs hundreds of times without ever encountering anything more threatening than an occasional loose cat or an overly enthusiastic squirrel. But tonight was different. Tonight the dog's instincts were warning both of us that something dangerous was lurking in the shadows between the streetlights, something that had turned our routine evening walk into a potentially deadly encounter with a predator who had been waiting for exactly this kind of opportunity. A lone woman walking a dog in a quiet residential area where screams for help might go unheard and witnesses were safely locked inside their homes. The golden retriever's growling intensified as we stood frozen on the sidewalk, and I could hear the sound of footsteps moving through the bushes alongside the path we had been following, deliberate and stealthy movements that suggested someone was paralleling our route and positioning themselves for an ambush. My name is Sarah, and that night taught me that professional dog walking is not just about animal care. It's about entering a world where predators understand that your dedication to protecting the pets in your care makes you vulnerable in ways that other potential victims could never be, where your love for animals becomes a weapon that criminals can use against you. Ever wondered why some dog walkers suddenly quit their routes without explanation? Ever questioned why certain pet care professionals seem paranoid about being followed during their walks? Comment below if you work in pet care and have ever felt like someone was studying your routines to exploit your commitment to animal safety. Because tonight I'm sharing 3 true accounts that will make you question every assumption you've made about the safety of professional animal care. These aren't exaggerated stories or urban legends designed to scare people away from pet care services. These are real experiences from real dog walkers who learned that when you're responsible for someone else's beloved pet, you become vulnerable to criminals who understand that your dedication to animal safety will prevent you from abandoning the dogs in your care, even when your own life is in danger. Jennifer was a college student in her early 20s who had been working as a professional dog walker in Portland, Oregon, for over 18 months to pay for her tuition and living expenses while completing her degree in animal science. Jennifer's dog walking business had grown through word-of-mouth recommendations from satisfied clients who appreciated her reliability, genuine love for animals, and the detailed care reports she provided after each walk. Jennifer's client base included over 30 regular customers throughout Portland's residential neighborhoods, with a mix of busy professionals, elderly pet owners, and families who needed reliable pet care services during work hours and travel periods. Jennifer had developed efficient routes and schedules that allowed her to provide quality care for multiple dogs while maintaining the personal attention that each pet required. Jennifer's work typically involved walking dogs individually or in small groups, depending on the animal's temperaments, and the owner's preferences, with routes that took her through safe, well-populated neighborhoods where she felt comfortable working alone during daylight hours. Jennifer carried professional equipment including leashes, waste bags, treats, and emergency supplies. For over 18 months, Jennifer's dog walking business had been successful and rewarding, with no significant safety incidents or problematic encounters that would suggest any concerns about her work environment or the neighborhoods where she provided pet care services. Jennifer had established friendly relationships with many of her clients and had developed a reputation for professionalism and reliability. But during the second week of November, Jennifer began to notice that she was being followed during her dog walking routes by someone who seemed to be studying her schedule, her clients, and her daily routines with the systematic attention of someone who was planning some kind of intervention or attack. The surveillance began subtly, with Jennifer occasionally noticing the same person or vehicle in different locations along her walking routes. Jennifer's stalker appeared to be a man in his 30s who would position himself at various points along Jennifer's routes, sometimes on foot and sometimes in a dark-colored van, always maintaining visual contact with Jennifer's activities, but staying far enough away to avoid direct confrontation or obvious detection. The stalker's behavior suggested detailed knowledge of Jennifer's schedule and routes. The stalking behavior escalated when the man began to approach Jennifer more directly, initially making casual contact at parks and public areas where Jennifer would take dogs for exercise and socialization. The stalker would engage Jennifer in seemingly friendly conversation about dogs, pet care, and local walking routes, but his questions were too specific and personal, focusing on Jennifer's living situation, her work schedule, and whether she worked alone. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you've ever had a stranger ask too many personal questions about your dog walking schedule. Because what Jennifer discovered about this stalker's tactics proved that some predators specifically target dog walkers because they understand that pet care professionals won't abandon the animals in their care even when they sense danger approaching. Jennifer realized that the stalker's friendly conversations were actually intelligence-gathering sessions designed to assess Jennifer's vulnerability and to determine the best opportunities for attacking her without interference from clients, family members, or other people who might notice if Jennifer failed to complete her scheduled dog walks or return home at expected times. The situation became more threatening when the stalker began to follow Jennifer more aggressively during her dog walks, sometimes on foot, and sometimes in his vehicle, maintaining closer proximity and making it obvious that Jennifer was being pursued rather than simply observed. The stalker would match Jennifer's pace when following on foot, and he would drive slowly alongside Jennifer when using his vehicle. Jennifer's attempts to vary her routes and schedule to avoid the stalker were unsuccessful, as the man seemed to anticipate Jennifer's changes and was able to locate her regardless of when or where she chose to walk her client's dogs. The stalker's ability to find Jennifer despite her evasive efforts suggested that he was conducting comprehensive surveillance of her apartment building. The situation reached a crisis point when the stalker began to threaten Jennifer's client's dogs, making it clear that he was willing to harm the animals in her care to force Jennifer to comply with his demands or to punish her for avoiding his advances. The stalker's threats against the dogs created a level of pressure and fear that went beyond Jennifer's personal safety concerns. Jennifer realized that the stalker was using her dedication to animal welfare as a weapon against her. Understanding that her professional and personal commitment to the dogs in her care would prevent her from simply abandoning her work or avoiding the areas where she provided pet care services. The stalker's manipulation of Jennifer's love for animals created a situation where her greatest strength became her greatest vulnerability. Jennifer's escape from the stalking situation required her to work with local law enforcement, her clients, and animal welfare organizations to document the threats and surveillance activities and to implement security measures that would protect both Jennifer and the dogs in her care from the stalker's planned attacks. The investigation revealed that Jennifer's stalker had been targeting multiple female dog walkers in the Portland area, using their predictable routes and schedules to plan attacks that had resulted in several assaults and robberies of pet care professionals who had been isolated and vulnerable during their work activities. The stalker was eventually arrested and charged with multiple counts of stalking, harassment, and assault related to his targeting of dog walkers throughout the metropolitan area. Jennifer's detailed documentation of the stalking behavior and her cooperation with the investigation were essential for identifying and prosecuting the criminal. Jennifer's experience taught her that dog walkers were particularly vulnerable to stalking and attack because of their predictable routines, their isolation during work, and their emotional commitment to animal welfare that could be exploited by criminals who understood that pet care professionals would not abandon the animals in their care, even when their own safety was threatened. But if you think individual stalkers represent the most dangerous threat that dog walkers can face, wait until you hear what happened to Marcus and Charlotte. Because sometimes the most terrifying pet care experiences involve criminal groups who view suburban neighborhoods as their territory and dog walkers as unwelcome witnesses who need to be intimidated, controlled, or eliminated to protect their illegal operations from exposure. Marcus was a retired firefighter in his late 50s who had started a dog walking and pet sitting business to stay active and supplement his retirement income while continuing to serve his community through animal care services. Marcus had chosen pet care work because of his lifelong love of animals and his desire to help busy pet owners provide proper care for their dogs during work hours and travel periods. Marcus's dog walking business operated primarily in the suburban neighborhoods surrounding his home in Charlotte, North Carolina, serving clients who appreciated his reliability experience with emergency situations and the peace of mind that came from knowing their pets were being cared for by someone with professional training in safety and emergency response procedures. Marcus typically worked with larger dogs and multiple dog households that required the physical strength and experience that his firefighter background provided, and he had developed a reputation for being able to handle challenging animals and difficult situations that other pet care professionals might find overwhelming or dangerous. For over 2 years, Marcus's pet care business had been successful and fulfilling, with no significant incidents or safety concerns that would suggest any problems with his work environment or the neighborhoods where he provided dog walking services. Marcus's emergency response training and physical fitness made him confident in his ability to handle most situations. But during the first week of December, Marcus began to encounter a group of people who were using the suburban neighborhoods where he worked as a base for criminal activities that had nothing to do with the residential community's normal activities and lifestyle. The criminal group appeared to be involved in drug dealing, property theft, and other illegal enterprises. The criminal group's initial interactions with Marcus were subtle and indirect, with members of the group observing his dog walking activities and assessing him as a potential threat to their illegal operations or as a possible target for robbery and intimidation. The group seemed to view Marcus's regular presence in the neighborhoods as an intrusion into their territory. Marcus's law enforcement background and emergency response training made him particularly observant of unusual activities and potential safety threats, and he quickly recognized that the criminal group's presence in the suburban neighborhoods posed significant risks to residents, pet owners, and service providers who worked in the area. Hit that like button if you work in pet care and have ever realized that your regular presence in certain neighborhoods makes you a threat to criminal operations, because what Marcus discovered about this group's territorial behavior proved that some criminals view dog walkers as dangerous witnesses who need to be eliminated to protect their illegal activities. The situation escalated when members of the criminal group began to follow Marcus during his dog walks, initially maintaining distance, but gradually becoming more aggressive and threatening in their pursuit and harassment. The group would use vehicles and bicycles to pursue Marcus along his routes, making threatening comments and gestures. Marcus realized that the criminal group was trying to establish control over the suburban area and eliminate legitimate residents and service providers who might witness or report their illegal activities to law enforcement or neighborhood watch organizations. Marcus's regular presence in the neighborhoods and his potential to observe and report criminal activity made him a target. The situation became more dangerous when the criminal group began to threaten the dogs in Marcus's care, making it clear that they were willing to harm innocent animals to force Marcus to stop working in their territory or to punish him for interfering with their illegal activities. The group's threats against the dogs created a level of pressure that went beyond Marcus's personal safety concerns. Marcus's response to the criminal threats required him to use his emergency response training and law enforcement contacts to document the criminal activities and coordinate with local police to protect the suburban neighborhoods from the illegal operations that were threatening residents and service providers. The investigation that followed Marcus's reports led to a major law enforcement operation that resulted in multiple arrests and the seizure of drugs, weapons, and stolen property that had been part of the criminal group's operations in the suburban neighborhoods. Marcus's cooperation with the investigation was essential for the success of the law enforcement operation. Marcus's experience taught him that suburban dog walking routes could expose pet care professionals to criminal activities that used quiet residential areas as bases for illegal operations, and that dog walkers needed to be aware of the potential risks of working in areas where criminal groups might view their presence as threats to be eliminated. But even territorial criminal groups seem manageable compared to what happened to Lisa in Atlanta. Because sometimes the most sophisticated threats that dog walkers face involve professional criminal organizations that view pet care professionals not as obstacles to eliminate, but as sources of intelligence and access to high-value targets that can generate millions of dollars through sophisticated theft operations. Lisa was a professional dog walker and pet sitter in her early 30s who operated a successful pet care business in the affluent suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, serving clients who required high-quality, reliable pet care services for their valuable purebred dogs and exotic pets. Lisa's business had grown through referrals from veterinarians, pet stores, and satisfied clients who appreciated her professional training and specialized care. Lisa's client base included several wealthy families with expensive dogs, rare breeds, and animals that required specialized handling and security measures to protect them from theft, injury, or other threats that could result in significant financial and emotional losses for their owners. Lisa had developed expertise in caring for high-value animals. Lisa typically worked with small groups of dogs or individual animals that required personalized attention and specialized care, with routes that took her through secure, well-monitored neighborhoods where the risk of crime or animal theft was minimized. Lisa carried professional equipment, including GPS tracking devices and emergency communication equipment. For over 3 years, Lisa's pet care business had been highly successful and profitable, with no significant security incidents or safety concerns that would suggest any problems with her work environment or the affluent neighborhoods where she provided services to high-end clients. Lisa had established excellent relationships with her clients. But during the third week of January, Lisa began to notice that she was being watched and followed by people who seemed to be conducting surveillance of her activities and gathering information about the valuable animals in her care. The surveillance appeared to be systematic and professional, with multiple people working together to monitor Lisa's routes and schedules. Lisa's investigation of the surveillance activities revealed that she was being targeted by a criminal organization that specialized in stealing valuable pets for resale, breeding operations, or ransom schemes that exploited pet owners' emotional attachments to their animals. The organization had sophisticated methods for identifying high-value targets. Ring that notification bell if you work with valuable pets and have ever realized you're being surveilled by professional criminals. Because what Lisa discovered about this organization is methods proved that some criminal enterprises view dog walkers as intelligence sources who can provide access to millions of dollars worth of high-value animals through sophisticated theft operations. The criminal organization's surveillance of Lisa's activities was designed to gather intelligence about the animals in her care, their value, their owners' security measures, and the best opportunities for stealing pets without interference from Lisa the pet owners or law enforcement agencies. The organization's professional approach suggested extensive experience with pet theft operations. The situation became more threatening when members of the criminal organization began to approach Lisa directly, initially posing as potential clients who were interested in her pet care services, but whose questions and behavior suggested that they were actually gathering information about her business operations and security procedures. Lisa realized that the criminal organization was planning to steal one or more of the valuable animals in her care, and that her professional reputation and financial security would be destroyed if she failed to protect her clients' pets from theft. The organization's surveillance and intelligence-gathering activities suggested sophisticated planning. The situation escalated when Lisa discovered that the criminal organization had been gathering information about her personal life, including her home address, her family members, and her daily routines outside of her pet care work. The organization's surveillance of Lisa's personal life suggested they were prepared to use intimidation or violence. Lisa's response to the criminal threats required her to work with law enforcement agencies, private security companies, and her clients to implement enhanced protection measures for the valuable animals in her care and to gather evidence that could be used to investigate and prosecute the criminal organization. The investigation revealed that the criminal organization had been operating throughout the southeastern United States, stealing valuable pets from dog walkers, pet sitters, and pet owners who were targeted based on the value of their animals and their vulnerability to theft operations. The organization had generated millions of dollars in revenue from pet theft. Lisa's detailed documentation of the surveillance activities and her cooperation with the investigation were essential for the successful prosecution of the criminal organization and the recovery of many stolen animals that were returned to their owners. Lisa's experience taught her that professional pet care providers who worked with valuable animals were particularly vulnerable to criminal organizations that specialized in pet theft and that viewed pet care professionals as sources of intelligence and opportunities for accessing high-value targets. These three accounts from professional dog walkers across America reveal a disturbing truth about pet care services: taking care of other people. Beloved animals can expose you to predators who view dog walkers as perfect targets for criminal activity because of their predictable routines, their isolation during work, and their emotional commitment to animal welfare that prevents them from abandoning pets even when their own safety is threatened. Jennifer's experience with a systematic stalker in Portland proved that some predators specifically target dog walkers because they understand that pet care professionals won't abandon the animals in their care even when they sense danger approaching. Marcus's encounter with a territorial criminal group in Charlotte demonstrated that some criminals view dog walkers as dangerous witnesses who need to be eliminated to protect their illegal operations from exposure. Lisa's targeting by a professional pet theft organization in Atlanta revealed that some criminal enterprises view dog walkers as intelligence sources who can provide access to millions of dollars worth of high-value animals through sophisticated theft operations. The most chilling aspect of these accounts isn't just the individual dangers themselves. It's the realization that these threats specifically exploit the dedication and compassion that make people excellent pet care professionals, turning their greatest strengths into vulnerabilities that criminals can manipulate and exploit. Jennifer had no warning that her reliable dog walking routines would attract the attention of a stalker who understood that her commitment to animal welfare would prevent her from making decisions that prioritized her own safety over the pets in her care. Marcus had no indication that his regular presence in suburban neighborhoods would make him a target for criminal groups who viewed his potential to witness their activities as a threat that needed to be eliminated. Lisa had no clue that her expertise with valuable animals would expose her to professional criminal organizations that viewed her access to high-end pets as an opportunity for sophisticated theft operations worth millions of dollars. If you're currently working as a professional dog walker or considering starting a pet care business, if you've noticed suspicious surveillance during your routes or encountered strangers who seem too interested in your schedule and clients, or if you work with valuable animals that might attract criminal attention, trust your instincts and remember that your love for animals should not come at the cost of your personal safety. The next time you're walking, dogs professionally remember these stories and implement security measures that protect both you and the animals in your care from criminals who use pet care services as opportunities to identify targets, gather intelligence, and execute attacks that exploit the isolation and predictability of professional dog walking activities. Share this video with anyone who works in professional pet care, because understanding these risks and warning signs could be the difference between a successful pet care career and becoming a victim of criminals who view your dedication to animals as a weakness to be exploited. Before you go, check out the playlist in the description for more true pet care horror stories that could save your life and protect the animals in your care. Because in the end, the most important thing you can protect while working with animals is yourself, and no amount of money or job satisfaction is worth risking your safety or the welfare of the pets you're responsible for protecting. Comment below if these stories have made you reconsider the safety aspects of professional pet care. And remember that sometimes the most dangerous part of working with animals is not the risk of bites or injuries from pets. It's the moment when you realize that someone has been watching you, studying your routines, and planning to use your love for animals against you in ways that put both you and the innocent pets in your care at risk of harm. Stay safe out there, and remember that the best pet care professional is one who protects both the animals and themselves. Even if it means implementing comprehensive security measures, working with partners, or turning down clients whose situations seem too risky to handle safely.